some days it feels like there's something missing, you know?
I am a girl, so why am I so upset by these people thinking I'm a girl?
The feelings that I was having for other girls were not normal.
I was really upset about it because I, more than anything, just wanted to be normal.
I didn't even know that being transgender was a thing until I was like 13.
It wasn't like, oh, my mom wouldn't like that. It's, oh, my grandma might literally kill me.
And I knew that if I told anyone, it was going to be met with hatred or punishment.
It's still that little 4-year-old girl curled up in me that is terrified. If my grandma had ever found out, I might not be here today. I just want to know what I am for me.
Hi, I'm Jody. I'm 21 years old. I'm a non-binary bisexual person, and I was born in Alabama and raised primarily in Mississippi.
My name is Caitlin Bowman. I am 21. I currently identify as a female. I am bisexual. I was born and raised in Louisiana.
My name is Jude. I'm 22. I'm a non-binary, transmasculine, bisexual person. I was born and raised in northeastern Arkansas.
My family is a little bit strange because while both of my parents are extremely, almost fanatically religious, we never went to church, which I thought was kind of strange, but honestly it was probably a blessing in disguise. My mother is very religious, but a bit more accepting. My father is not that way. He is very fundamentalist Christian, very fire and brimstone, you do what I say type of person. He was very religious and very homophobic.
My mom was very uneducated and casually homophobic, making gay jokes in a way that's not like I want gay people dead, but more like it's something to make fun of someone for. It took me until my teen years to start unlearning that.
My mom and dad did not have custody of me after I was 4. My grandma had legal custody of me. Grandma tended not to use her words when she didn't like something. My grandma made damn sure I knew I was a woman and only ever outwardly showed myself as a woman. And sometimes, even now when I'm doing things or I'm feeling more masculine that day, I hear her voice in the back of my head telling me that that's wrong and that that's not okay and that I will never not be perceived as a woman.
But I remember my father being sort of like, no, you're a girl, you were born a girl, and you will always be a girl, and there is nothing you can do to change it. Which at the time made me feel really upset. I just didn't know why.
I would actually throw a fit if my mom took me to the girls' department at a very young age. I just hadn't really developed a sense of style. I just knew that I hated wearing dresses, skirts, anything with lace, flowers, pink. I accepted at the time that I was a tomboy because I was being told that so often. It felt right at the time, but it wouldn't have felt right if I had any better words to describe myself. I didn't really know that there were any other options, but I didn't really think that I was going to grow out of it, and obviously I didn't.
Growing up, I always had to teeter this line between tomboy and girly girl to appease my grandma. Grandma didn't like when I full-ethered. It's not just tomboy. It's not just, I want to be a masculine girl. I want to be a boy sometimes.
My father, at least, was very insistent that I wear very feminine clothing, skirts and dresses, the typical Easter Sunday, pastel pink, sequins, all that sort of thing. And it really upset me, but the thing about my father is that there is no arguing with him, and I was a small child. So at that time period, at least, it was just sort of suffering in silence.
I didn't know anyone growing up who was gay or bisexual or transgender or anything like that. I think the only exposure I really had was, I remember watching Ellen DeGeneres on TV when I was very young, and my mom making a negative comment about it and then changing the channel. I remember being really confused by that comment. I didn't at the time really understand what being gay was or why it was such a bad thing. I mostly didn't pay attention in church yet, but I kind of filed that away in the back of my brain as this isn't okay.
I remember when I was probably about 5 or 6, my father would make just kind of offhand very hateful comments about gay people in general, specifically gay men. And I always thought it was kind of strange because I didn't really understand what the problem was necessarily. I didn't know what gay people were. I didn't know why they were so bad. I didn't know what was wrong with them. So I just kind of stayed quiet, kept to myself, and didn't ask questions. It wasn't something that was ever talked about in our family or in the community that I was raised in. Like, it was a very taboo subject. No one talked about it.
I knew that I was into girls, but the way that I felt about boys was a little more complicated because in hindsight I know it was because they saw me as a woman and I wasn't comfortable being treated that way in a relationship. Like, even if they treated me well, it was still, they saw me as being, you know, the woman in a straight relationship.
And it's not like I didn't know I liked women when I was a kid. It's just I didn't say anything about it because I couldn't. I would be like, that's a pretty girl, and my girl would be like, yeah, why aren't you a pretty girl? It wasn't an open thing I could be. At first I was like, well, I just like the way they dress. No, that was me trying to push it down and deny it because I knew that that was something that would get me hurt. I'm in the South. My grandma, the people around me, it's not something that was accepted.
So I got put into Christian private school in the 6th grade, and that was really difficult and painful because I was surrounded by all of these hyper-religious Christian people who would be telling me, you're gonna go to hell, don't worry, you're gonna find the right man someday.
I got bullied a lot growing up. I had a couple friends here and there who would be like, yeah, I'm so happy you're making yourself happy, and then turn around behind my back and talk shit about me. Talking about how I dress like a whore, or how I'm doing this for attention, or how this isn't me. A lot of people around here fake that they support it, but then behind closed doors or when you're not there, they don't use your pronouns, they don't use your names, they don't care, it's a show.
My dad committed suicide when I was 11, and I had been told that people who commit suicide automatically go to hell, no matter whether they're a good or bad person. That didn't sit right with me because I don't remember him really saying anything negative about anyone unless they had actually done something wrong to him. He was a really friendly, funny person. He was a very, very good dad. I couldn't imagine believing in a God that would send him to hell.
I'm bitter at my old friends and at my family. They made me suppress so much of myself to suit what they wanted. They lied to me and made fun of me. I started dating this really nice girl. My brother started asking her so many questions to her face, and then at the end just told her she's stupid and confused. They kept telling me, hey, that dude you're dating, what's wrong with him?
I could have either been kicked out of my house when I was a minor. It depends on my father's reaction, and he's very unpredictable. So it could have been anything from whatever, I don't care, just leave me alone, to full on, I'm beating you within an inch of your life.
My grandparents were very supportive. They were happy that I was figuring things out about myself, I think. Surprisingly, my mom was very supportive. I think that she had sort of changed her attitude about that over time without me knowing. My mom's initial reaction was that she needed a minute to process it, but she asked me what the next steps were and how she could help me. It was a huge relief and a huge weight off my shoulders because I had heard so many stories already of people coming out and being completely rejected by their families and being out on the streets, and at the time I was 14, so that was a really scary prospect.
So when I came out to my father, it was actually an accident, but I was on the phone with my boss at my job at the time. I picked up the phone and I was like, hey, it's Jody, not thinking, and I was right in front of him, and he was like, why would you call yourself that? I named you dead name for a reason, and that is what I will always call you. You will always be my daughter, you'll never be my son.
It was hard trying to come into who I wanted to be as a person because of how insistent my grandma was. And it wasn't just my grandma. My mom got on to me for "That's so dark. What happened to my pretty pink girl? Pink used to be your favorite color. Why are you wearing that skirt? It's so short." And I still, to this day, have arguments with my mother about how I dress. I dress like a stripper. I dress like a hooker. Things like that is what gets you raped. I have all these expectations and things in my head telling me of what I should be. And I'm having to try to dismantle what I should be before I can figure out what I want to be. I now, as an adult, would be safe if my grandma found out, but I know that if she does find out, there'd still be a lot of harassment. I'd have to block her on everything. I'd have to block her number. I'd have to block everyone. And it would just be non-stop. And if she had found out where I lived now, she would come up there, and it'd probably get so bad that I'd have to file a restraining order against her. Now, as an adult, and her being a 70-year-old frail woman, I could probably beat her ass, but that isn't to say that she wouldn't try to hurt me.
Obviously, I wish that my dad was there so that I would know how he felt about all of it, but I can't imagine that he would have disowned me or anything. I got really lucky in the sense that I had several family members who were very supportive of me. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
My dad doesn't even know that I don't want to be a woman. I can't bring myself to tell my dad I'm not his little girl. Because I know he won't look at me the same anymore.
After my aunt kicked me out when I was 16, I just kind of said, you know what? If you're going to kick me out and I'm going to be on my own, then I'm going to do whatever I want. I definitely still think about the fact that my family is this way. However, now that I'm an adult, I feel like I can be more at peace with it because it's not directly affecting me in my life anymore. Labels can be helpful to create community, to help you process the feelings that you're having and what you're going through and what your wants and desires are, but they can be a bit constricting. We need to be more open with people changing their labels. There is no permanent state of the self. Every single human being is constantly growing, learning, changing, and evolving.
It's always about, well, what are you? Instead of just letting them exist.
I feel like as I get older, the more specific labels matter less and less.
If you are questioning your identity, it's important to give yourself space and time to explore all these feelings that you're having. Don't worry about having to find a label that fits immediately. Don't focus so heavy on trying to label yourself and trying to put yourself in a box, because you don't have to be in a box. Fuck the box. Throw the box away. Put it in the trash.
Don't listen to anyone who tells you what and who you are. You're the only one that knows.